The piercing sound of a soda glass shattering on the hardwood floor snapped Wyatt Anderson out of his exhaustion-induced trance. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, stood frozen beside the table, her blue eyes wide with alarm as she stared at the mess of glass and cola spreading across the diner floor. "I'm sorry, Daddy," she whispered, her bottom lip quivering. Wyatt immediately knelt beside her, careful to keep her away from the glass. "Hey, it's okay, sweetheart. Accidents happen." He gently guided her to a safe spot while reaching for a handful of napkins from the dispenser. It was nearly 9 p.m. on a Friday, well past Lily's bedtime, but the babysitter had canceled last minute, leaving Wyatt no choice but to bring his daughter along to his evening shift. As the assistant manager at Rosie's diner, he couldn't afford to miss work, especially not when rent was due next week, and Lily needed new shoes for the upcoming school year. "I've got this, Wyatt," said Martha, the 60-something waitress who had been working at Rosie's since before Wyatt was born. She appeared with a mop and bucket, shooting him a sympathetic smile. "Take your little girl home. You both look dead on your feet." "I can't leave early again, Martha. Rosie's already doing me a favor letting Lily stay here tonight. Rosie ain't even here, and we're closing in an hour anyway. It's dead tonight except for that weird blind date situation at table 12. Martha nodded toward the far corner of the diner, where a well-dressed woman sat across from a man who hadn't stopped talking since they'd arrived 30 minutes ago. Wyatt had noticed them earlier. The woman's designer clothes and elegant posture seemed wildly out of place in the modest neighborhood diner. She'd ordered only water while her date had demanded the most expensive item on the menu and proceeded to dominate the conversation entirely. "Please, Wyatt. That little girl needs her bed and you need some rest. I'll clock you out at closing time." Wyatt hesitated, guilt and relief battling for dominance. "I owe you, Martha. You can repay me by bringing those homemade brownies to the staff meeting next week." She winked at Lily. "Your daddy makes the best brownies in town, doesn't he, sweetie?" Lily nodded sleepily, rubbing her eyes with tiny fists. Wyatt gathered their things and was helping Lily into her jacket when he noticed the woman from table 12 making hurried eye contact with him. She subtly raised her hand to her ear in the universal phone call gesture while her date continued his monologue, oblivious to her distress. Wyatt had seen this before the silent plea for rescue from a bad date. He hesitated, looking at his tired daughter, then back at the trapped woman. "1 second, Lilybug," he said, setting down their bags. "Daddy needs to help someone really quickly." He approached table 12, notepad in hand as if taking an order. "Excuse me, madam," he said politely. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have an urgent call at the front." Something about a work emergency. The woman's relief was palpable. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I need to take this," she said to her date, already sliding out of the booth. "Work never stops when you're the CEO." The man frowned, clearly annoyed at the interruption. "Can't they handle anything without you?" "Not this client," she replied smoothly, gathering her purse. "Please enjoy your meal, I'll be right back." Wyatt led her toward the front counter, well out of earshot of her date. "Thank you," she whispered. "I couldn't take another minute of that." Up close, Wyatt noticed her striking features: intelligent hazel eyes, high cheekbones, and dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She smelled faintly of something expensive and floral. "Happy to help," Wyatt said. "Bad blind date, the worst. My assistant set it up with her cousin. 15 minutes in, and he's already explained how he could run my company better than me and asked if my daddy bought me my position." She rolled her eyes. "I need an exit strategy that doesn't involve climbing out the bathroom window." Wyatt glanced at the man, who was now openly staring at them while chewing a mouthful of steak. "I could have someone call you with a fake emergency. He already thinks I'm taking a call," she pointed out. "And frankly, I don't want to go back to the table at all." Lily appeared at Wyatt's side, tugging on his apron. "Daddy, can we go home now? I'm tired." The woman's eyes softened as she looked at Lily. "Is this your daughter? She's beautiful." "Thank you. This is Lily." Wyatt placed a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "And yes, sweetheart, we're leaving now." An idea formed in Wyatt's mind. "Actually, we're heading out the back. If you wanted to avoid going back to your table, you could leave that way too." The woman smiled, a genuine, grateful smile that transformed her serious face. That would be perfect. I'll leave enough cash at the counter to cover his meal and a generous tip for the trouble. I can take care of that for you, Wyatt offered, leading both Lily and the woman toward the staff exit. As they reached the back door, the woman extended her hand. I'm Natalie Sinclair, by the way. Thank you for the rescue, Wyatt Anderson. He shook her hand, noting her firm grip. And it's no problem, no one should be trapped in a bad date. They stepped out into the cool spring evening, the narrow alley behind the diner dimly lit by a single security light. Natalie pulled out her phone. I should call my driver. I had him take the night off thinking I'd be having dinner, but I can get a ride share. Where are you headed? Wyatt asked, helping Lily into her light jacket. Downtown, the Westbrook Towers, Wyatt whistled. That's the fancy high-rise with the glass penthouse, right? Natalie nodded, looking slightly embarrassed. Yes, I live on the top floor. Of course the CEO gets the penthouse, Wyatt said with a smile. Well, we're heading in the opposite direction, but I can wait with you until your ride arrives. That's very kind, but I don't want to keep you and Lily. She looks exhausted. As if to confirm this, Lily yawned widely, leaning against her father's leg. I'm not leaving a woman alone in a dark alley, especially one who's clearly not dressed for this neighborhood, Wyatt said, nodding at her designer outfit and heels. We can wait. Natalie hesitated, then nodded gratefully. As she pulled out her phone to order a car, a loud voice echoed from inside the diner. Where is she? Did she leave? Did you let her walk out? Natalie's eyes widened in alarm. That's him. He sounds angry. Without thinking, Wyatt ushered Natalie and Lily toward his old Ford Escape parked at the end of the alley. Let's get you out of here. I can drop you off downtown. I couldn't ask you to. You didn't ask. I offered. Besides, it sounds like that guy might cause a scene, and Lily doesn't need to witness that. They hurried to the car, Wyatt helping Lily into her booster seat in the back before opening the passenger door for Natalie. Through the diner's back window, they could see Natalie's date arguing with Martha, gesturing wildly toward the back door. Natalie slid into the passenger seat, looking both relieved and slightly bewildered to find herself in a car with child's toys scattered across the floor and cheerful music playing from the speakers. Wyatt started the engine, wincing at the grinding noise it made before rumbling to life. Sorry about the mess, he said, pulling out of the alley just as the back door of the diner flew open. And the car in general, it's not exactly luxury transportation. It's perfect, Natalie said, watching through the side mirror as her abandoned date stood fuming in the alley. You're saving me from what was clearly turning into a nightmare. As they drove, Lily fell asleep within minutes, her head lolling against the side of her booster seat. Wyatt adjusted the rearview mirror to keep an eye on her. She's beautiful, Natalie said softly. How old is she? 6. Going on 16 sometimes, Wyatt answered with a proud smile. She's smart as a whip and twice as sharp. You must be very proud. Every day, even the hard ones. His smile faltered slightly. Especially the hard ones. It can't be easy raising her while working late shifts. Wyatt kept his eyes on the road, feeling suddenly self-conscious about the contrast between them, his worn jeans and diner apron versus her polished appearance. We manage. Her mom isn't in the picture anymore, so it's just us, but we have a system. Usually. The babysitter canceled last minute tonight, so Lily had to hang out at the diner while I worked. Not ideal, but it happens. Life happens, Natalie said. You clearly love her very much. The conversation flowed easily as they drove toward downtown, the city lights growing brighter as they left the residential neighborhoods behind. Wyatt learned that Natalie was the CEO of Sinclair Innovations, a tech company she'd built from the ground up over the last decade. Despite her success, she spoke without pretension, asking Wyatt questions about his life and listening with genuine interest to his answers. So how does an assistant manager at a diner make the best brownies in town according to Martha? Natalie asked. Wyatt laughed. I went to culinary school, actually. Had dreams of opening my own bakery someday. What happened? Life, Wyatt said with a shrug. Lily's mom and I weren't married when she got pregnant. We tried to make it work, but she decided parenthood wasn't for her when Lily was 2. Left for California to find herself and sends a birthday card once a year if we're lucky. I'm sorry. Don't be. Lily is the best thing that ever happened to me. The bakery dream got put on hold, but it's still there. I'm saving up bit by bit. It's admirable putting your daughter first. It's just what you do as a parent. He glanced in the rearview mirror at his sleeping daughter. What about you? How does a CEO end up on a blind date at Rosie's diner? Natalie sighed. My assistant means well. She thinks I work too much, which is probably true. She's been trying to set me up for months, and I finally agreed just to get her to stop asking. Clearly, I should have vetted her cousin better. Not a lot of dating in the CEO world, not a lot of genuine connections, Natalie corrected. Either they're intimidated by my position, or they see me as some sort of trophy to conquer. Finding someone who sees me as a person first is challenging. Well, if it makes you feel better, your date tonight wouldn't have seen you as a person even if you worked at a gas station, Wyatt said. Some people are just self-absorbed. Natalie laughed, the sound warm and genuine. You're right about that. As they approached the gleaming Westbrook Towers, Natalie grew quiet, staring up at the illuminated glass structure. This is me, she said as Wyatt pulled up to the circular drive in front of the building. Nice place, Wyatt said, impressed despite himself. The doorman was already moving toward the car, clearly confused by the aged Ford Escape in the luxury building's driveway. Thank you again for the rescue, Natalie said, turning to face him. You and Lily saved my evening. Happy to help. Sorry about your date. I'm not, Natalie said with a smile. She hesitated, then pulled a business card from her purse. Would it be completely inappropriate if I asked you to call me sometime? Maybe when you're not on daddy duty, Wyatt blinked in surprise. You want me to call you? Only if you want to, she said quickly. No pressure. The doorman tapped politely on the window. Natalie rolled it down. Good evening, Miss Sinclair. Should I have your car brought around? No, thank you, James. I was just getting dropped off. Wyatt took the business card, staring at the embossed logo and elegant font. I'll call you, he said, surprising himself with how much he meant it. Natalie's smile brightened. I hope you do. She got out of the car, thanked him once more, and disappeared into the building with a final wave. Wyatt sat for a moment, staring at the business card in his hand before carefully tucking it into his wallet. As he drove home, he couldn't help but smile at the unexpected turn his evening had taken. 2 days passed before Wyatt gathered the courage to call the number on Natalie's card. He'd spent those days talking himself into and out of it repeatedly. What would a successful CEO want with a struggling single father who could barely make ends meet? But each time he considered not calling, he remembered the genuine warmth in her smile, the ease of their conversation, and found himself reaching for his phone again. He finally called on Sunday afternoon while Lily was having a playdate at a friend's house. To his surprise, Natalie answered on the second ring, Natalie Sinclair speaking. Hi, this is Wyatt Anderson, from the diner the other night. Wyatt, the pleasure in her voice was unmistakable. I'm so glad you called. I was beginning to think you weren't going to. Sorry it took a few days. Single dad life doesn't leave much time for phone calls. No apologies necessary. How's Lily? She's good. At a friend's house for the afternoon, which is why I finally have a moment to myself. And you're using that precious free time to call me. I'm flattered. Wyatt laughed, relaxing into the conversation. I wanted to see if maybe you'd like to get coffee sometime, or dinner. Though I should warn you, my dinner options are more in the diner price range than what you're probably used to. I'd love coffee, Natalie said. And just so you know, I'm perfectly happy with diners. Some of the best food comes from the most unassuming places. They arranged to meet the following day at a coffee shop midway between the diner and Natalie's office. After hanging up, Wyatt stared at his phone, a mix of excitement and apprehension churning in his stomach. What was he getting himself into? Monday arrived, and Wyatt found himself standing outside Brewster's Coffee 15 minutes early, second-guessing his outfit choice. He'd opted for his best jeans and a button-down shirt, casual but neat. It was a far cry from his usual work attire, but he couldn't exactly show up in a diner apron. Natalie arrived precisely on time, dressed in a sleek pantsuit that somehow looked both professional and approachable. Her hair was down today, falling in soft waves around her shoulders, and Wyatt was struck again by how beautiful she was. You clean up nice, she said with a smile, eyeing his outfit. No apron today, I left it at home, along with the coffee stains and kitchen grease, Wyatt joked. You look amazing. They found a quiet table in the corner, away from the bustle of the main counter. Over lattes and pastries, they slipped back into the easy conversation they'd started in the car. Wyatt told her about his culinary training and his dream of opening a bakery cafe specializing in artisan breads and desserts. Natalie shared stories of building her company from a startup in her garage to the tech giant it was today. What about Lily's mom? Natalie asked carefully. Is she completely out of the picture? Wyatt nodded. Pretty much. She sends the occasional text or card, but she made it clear she wasn't cut out for parenthood. We have full legal custody, and that's how we both prefer it. That must be hard on Lily. It was at first, Wyatt admitted, but kids are resilient. She knows she's loved, and that's what matters most. And what about you? Dating must be complicated with a young child, Wyatt smiled ruefully. Dating has been pretty much non-existent, to be honest. Between work and Lily, there hasn't been much time. And finding someone who understands the package deal isn't easy. The package deal, me and Lily, we come together. Anyone who wants to be in my life needs to understand that Lily will always be my priority. Natalie nodded thoughtfully. That's exactly as it should be. Their coffee date stretched to nearly 2 hours before Natalie reluctantly checked her watch. I have a board meeting in 30 minutes. I wish I could stay longer. This was nice, Wyatt said. I'd like to do it again if you would. I would love that, Natalie replied without hesitation. Maybe dinner next time. And before you worry about price ranges, let me suggest something. I know an amazing little hole-in-the-wall Italian place that serves the best homemade pasta in the city. It's not fancy, just authentic. That sounds perfect. They stood to leave, lingering awkwardly at the door. Wyatt finally leaned in and kissed her cheek, a gentle touch that seemed to surprise and please her. I'll call you, he promised. I'll be waiting, she replied. The following weeks saw Wyatt and Natalie building a relationship that surprised them both with its easy rhythm. They met for dinners when Wyatt could arrange childcare, occasionally catching lunch when their schedules aligned. Natalie proved true to her word about enjoying simple pleasures, seeming more comfortable in the casual restaurants Wyatt suggested than the upscale establishments he'd expected her to prefer. 3 weeks after their coffee date, Wyatt finally introduced Natalie to Lily properly. They met at a local park, neutral territory, where Lily could feel comfortable and play if she got bored with adult conversation. To Wyatt's relief, Lily took to Natalie immediately, especially after discovering that the elegant businesswoman knew how to make dandelion crowns and wasn't afraid to get grass stains on her jeans. Your daughter is amazing, Natalie told Wyatt as they watched Lily on the playground. She's so bright and curious about everything. She's my world, Wyatt said simply. Everything I do for her. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. As spring turned to summer, their relationship deepened. Wyatt began to realize that despite their different worlds, he and Natalie shared fundamental values: hard work, honesty, and the importance of making time for the people who matter. Natalie showed up for school events when she could, rearranging meetings to attend Lily's kindergarten graduation ceremony, and beaming with pride as if Lily were her own. For her part, Natalie seemed to bloom in the presence of Wyatt and Lily's uncomplicated affection. She confessed one evening, as they sat on Wyatt's small apartment balcony after Lily had gone to bed, that she'd never felt so comfortable with anyone before. In my world, people always want something from me, she explained, her fingers intertwined with his. My money, my connections, my influence. You've never once asked me for anything. That's not entirely true, Wyatt said with a smile. I did ask you to reach that box of cereal on the top shelf at the grocery store last week. Natalie laughed, leaning her head against his shoulder. You know what I mean. You see me, not my position or my bank account. I see Natalie, he said softly. The woman who spends her lunch breaks reading chapter books to my daughter over the phone. The woman who brings me coffee at the diner when I'm working early shifts. The woman who somehow manages to run a multimillion-dollar company and still remembers that Lily is allergic to strawberries. Natalie turned to face him, her eyes shining in the dim light. "I'm falling in love with you, Wyatt Anderson, with both of you." Wyatt's heart swelled. He cupped her face gently in his hands. "I'm already there," he whispered before kissing her softly. Their lives continued to intertwine, but not without challenges. Wyatt struggled with the disparity in their financial situations, refusing Natalie's offers to help when his car broke down or when Lily needed dental work not covered by his insurance. "It's not about pride," he tried to explain one night after a tense discussion about money. "It's about standing on my own feet. I've been taking care of us since Lily was born, and I need to know I can keep doing that." "I understand pride, Wyatt, but there's a difference between independence and stubbornness," Natalie countered. "Letting someone help occasionally isn't weakness. It is when that help comes from someone who makes more in a day than I make in a month," Wyatt said, then immediately regretted his sharp tone. "I'm sorry, that wasn't fair." "No, it's honest," Natalie said quietly. "But Wyatt, relationships aren't balance sheets. I don't keep track of who pays for what or who owes whom. I care about you and Lily, and sometimes caring means offering help." "I know, it's just complicated." They worked through these moments, finding compromises that preserved Wyatt's independence while acknowledging Natalie's desire to support the people she loved. Natalie learned to offer help in ways. Wyatt could accept connections to potential investors for his bakery dream rather than direct financial assistance, or arranging experiences for Lily rather than buying expensive gifts. 4 months into their relationship, Wyatt received news that changed everything. The owner of a small commercial space in a trendy neighborhood was selling the property, and thanks to a connection through Natalie, Wyatt had the first opportunity to make an offer. The location was perfect for the bakery cafe he'd dreamed of: visible storefront, good foot traffic, and even a small apartment upstairs that would eliminate their rent expense. "This is it, Nat," he said excitedly as they toured the empty space. "This is exactly what I've been saving for." "It's perfect," she agreed, watching him pace the room, already planning where counters and tables would go. "What's the asking price?" When Wyatt told her, her face fell slightly. "That's more than you've saved, isn't it?" "By quite a bit," he admitted. "I'd need a business loan, but with my credit history and current income, I'm not sure I'd qualify for enough." "I could help," Natalie offered cautiously. "Not a gift if that makes you uncomfortable. An investment. I believe in your vision, Wyatt. I've tasted your baking and I know how hard you work." Wyatt's initial instinct was to refuse, but he paused, considering her words. "An investment, like a business partner, if that's what you want, or a silent investor, whatever makes you comfortable." Wyatt looked around the empty space, seeing not what it was but what it could be. He thought of the years he'd worked double shifts, putting away every spare dollar for this dream. He thought of Lily and the stable future he wanted to provide for her. And he thought of Natalie, offering not charity but partnership. "Let me think about it," he said finally. "This isn't a decision I can make lightly." "Of course," Natalie said. "Take all the time you need." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Wyatt sat at his small kitchen table with a notepad, calculating figures and weighing options. He could continue at the diner, saving slowly and hoping a similar opportunity would come along in a few years. Or he could accept Natalie's offer and take the leap now, turning his dream into reality sooner rather than later. The next morning, he called Natalie. "I've been thinking about your offer," he said when she answered. "Would you be willing to discuss terms over dinner tonight? I have some ideas about how this could work." "I'd love that," Natalie said, her voice warm with hope. "My place, I'll cook." "Actually, I was thinking we could bring Lily to your place and I'll cook. This decision affects her future too, and I'd like her to be part of the conversation, even if she doesn't understand all the details." "That sounds perfect." That evening, Wyatt cooked dinner in Natalie's state-of-the-art kitchen while Lily explored the penthouse apartment with wide-eyed wonder. Natalie had thoughtfully child-proofed several areas and even set up a small play area in her home office. Over a meal of homemade pasta and garlic bread, Wyatt shared his proposal. "I'd like to accept your investment," he said, "but as a proper business arrangement. You provide a portion of the capital, and in return, you receive a percentage of the business. I'll secure a smaller loan for the remainder. That way, I'm still carrying my share, but with your help, this becomes possible now instead of years from now." "I think that's a wonderful solution," Natalie said, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "And just to be clear, I'm investing because I believe in your talent and work ethic. This isn't about controlling you or creating obligation." "I know that now," Wyatt said. "It took me a while to separate my pride from the practical reality. You've never tried to change who I am or make me fit into your world. You've accepted me, Lily, our whole messy situation, without judgment." "Because I love you both," Natalie said simply. "Your dreams matter to me because you matter to me. Can I ask a question?" Lily piped up, twirling pasta on her fork with careful concentration. "Of course, sweetheart," Natalie answered. "If Daddy makes his bakery and you help, does that mean you'll be around more? Like all the time, maybe?" The adults exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. "Would you like that?" Natalie asked carefully. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "I like when you're with us. You make Daddy smile, the big smile, not just the regular one." Wyatt felt his heart swell with love for his perceptive daughter. "I do smile more when Natalie's around, don't I?" "All the time," Lily confirmed. "Even when you think I'm not looking." Natalie laughed, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Well, I like being with you both very much. And yes, I hope I'll be around more often." After dinner, while Lily played with the tablet Natalie kept for her visits, the adults finalized their business arrangement. Papers would be drawn up, terms agreed upon, and steps set in motion to secure the property and begin renovations. As they stood on Natalie's balcony later that evening, looking out over the city lights, Wyatt put his arm around her waist and pulled her close. "There's something I need to tell you," he said. "The night we met when you were on that awful blind date, how could I forget?" "It was the best bad date of my life," Natalie said with a laugh. "Well, what you don't know is that my coworker Martha had been trying to set us up for weeks." Natalie pulled back slightly, confusion in her eyes. "Set us up, you and me," Wyatt nodded. "Apparently, you'd been coming into the diner for lunch regularly for months. I was always in the kitchen during lunch rushes, so we never crossed paths. But according to Martha, you asked about me after overhearing her mention my baking skills to another customer." "Wait," Natalie said slowly. "Are you saying you were interested in me before we ever met?" Wyatt confirmed. "Martha told me after our third date. She'd been telling you about the handsome baker with the cute daughter and telling me about the fancy lady who keeps asking about your brownies for weeks." "Why didn't you say anything?" "At first, I didn't believe it. Why would someone like you be interested in someone like me? Then, when I realized it might be true, I wanted to make sure what was growing between us was real, not just Martha's matchmaking." Natalie shook her head in amazement. "I remember now. Martha would always talk about you when I came in, mentioning how talented you were and what a wonderful father. I was intrigued, but I never imagined I'd meet you because you were always in the back. When my assistant suggested that blind date at Rosie's, I actually hoped I might finally catch a glimpse of the famous Wyatt. Instead, you got stuck with that awful date, and rescued by the very man I'd been curious about all along." Natalie turned to face him fully. "Life has a strange way of bringing people together, doesn't it?" "It certainly does," Wyatt agreed, pulling her closer. "And I'm grateful for every twist and turn that led us here." 6 months later, Wyatt stood in the center of his newly renovated bakery cafe, Lily's Bread and Sweets, surveying the space with pride. Gleaming counters displayed his artisan breads and pastries, while comfortable seating invited customers to linger over coffee and conversation. The apartment upstairs had been renovated as well, providing a cozy home for him and Lily just steps from his workplace. The grand opening was scheduled for the following day, but tonight was for a private celebration with the people who mattered most. Lily darted between tables, arranging the handmade place cards she'd created for each guest, Martha from the diner, a few of Wyatt's culinary school friends, Natalie's assistant who had unwittingly set everything in motion with that awful blind date, and of course, Natalie herself. "It's perfect," Natalie said, appearing at his side and slipping her hand into his. "Everything you dreamed it would be." "Almost everything," Wyatt replied, turning to face her. "There's one dream still waiting to come true." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Natalie's eyes widened as he knelt before her. "Natalie Sinclair, you walked into my life when I least expected it but needed it most. You've loved me not in spite of my struggles, but because of the strength they've given me. You've loved my daughter as if she were your own. You've supported my dreams and helped make them reality." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. "Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife, of making our little family complete?" "Yes," Natalie whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "1,000 times yes." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Lily rushed over, sensing the importance of the moment. "Did she say yes, Daddy? Is Natalie going to be my mom now?" Wyatt lifted his daughter into his arms, creating a three-way embrace. "She did say yes, Lily Bug, if that's okay with you." Lily wrapped her arms around both adults, squeezing tight. "It's the most okay thing ever." Later that evening, as their guests celebrated around them, Wyatt and Natalie stood in the doorway of what would soon become the heart of their new life together, a business built on passion, a home created with love, and a family formed by choice rather than circumstance. "You know," Natalie said softly, "when I walked into Rosie's diner that night, I never imagined I was walking toward my future. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected beginnings," Wyatt replied, kissing her gently. "Who would have thought that helping you escape a bad blind date would lead to all this?" "I would," Natalie said with a smile. "Because deep down, I think I was always looking for you. I just needed a terrible date to help me find my way." As they rejoined their guests, surrounded by the warmth of friendship and the promise of tomorrow, Wyatt knew with absolute certainty that all the struggles and sacrifices had led him exactly where he was meant to be in this moment. With these people, building a future filled with love, purpose, and the sweet satisfaction of dreams finally coming true.